Jax Calder wiped his hands on a worn cloth and squinted against the pale light of the Orion expanse. Before him drifted a starship, ancient and forgotten, its hull scarred and corroded from years of neglect. The ship had been abandoned for centuries, left to float in the silent void after a war that no one remembered clearly anymore. Its metal skin was dark and pitted, with jagged holes and bent panels, and the faint glow of distant stars reflected off its broken surface. For most, this ship was worthless, a piece of galactic history better left alone. But Jax saw something else. He saw potential. He saw a machine that could be alive again. The human mechanic had traveled far from his homeworld, following rumors of this derelict vessel, hoping to find rare materials for his work. Yet now, standing before the hulking mass of steel, he felt a spark of excitement he hadn't felt in years. "Crazy human," muttered a nearby scavenger, an alien with thin, angular limbs and shimmering green skin. "You really think you can fix that? It's dead. It has been dead for centuries. Leave it." Jax didn't reply. Words from skeptical aliens had never stopped him before. He stepped onto the gangway, which creaked and groaned under his weight. Dust and debris floated in the weak gravity as he made his way inside. The corridors were dark, lit only by the dim emergency lights that flickered occasionally. Rusted wires hung from the ceiling, and the smell of old machinery filled the air. Yet Jax's eyes glimmered with determination. Every corner of the ship told a story. There were control panels with shattered screens, long cold engines that had once roared with power, and rooms that had been abandoned in a hurry. Data logs lay scattered across the floor, some cracked and unreadable, others surprisingly intact. He picked up one of the logs, brushing off the dust, and the screen flickered to life. The voice recording that followed was weak and distorted, but the words were clear enough to understand. "A critical mission failure, not an option. Crew lost. A protocol initiated. AI core offline." Jax listened carefully, imagining the lives that had been aboard this ship, the battles it had fought, and the missions it had failed. Most humans might have been deterred by the eerie emptiness or the weight of history, but for Jax, the ship's silence spoke to him. It wasn't dead. It was waiting for someone who had the skill and courage to bring it back to life. He began his inspection in earnest. The ship's engines were ancient, far older than anything humans typically repaired. Their energy conduits were brittle and some sections had been burned away entirely. The life support systems were offline, the navigation array was fragmented, and the weapons bays were corroded shut. It was a massive job. Yet Jax could see the ingenuity of the original designers. The ship had been built with modular systems, which meant it could be repaired, if one knew how to think beyond the obvious. "Looks like you've got your work cut out for you," Jax said aloud, though he was the only one there to hear. He pulled out his tools, his bag heavy with equipment he had collected over decades of scavenging and repairing. There were welding torches, universal interface devices, spare conduits, and mechanical parts of all sizes. Every tool had its purpose, and Jax knew how to use them in ways that no alien mechanic could imagine. He started with the engine room. The massive propulsion units were silent, but their structure was sound. Jax's hands moved quickly, removing broken panels and rerouting energy conduits with a mixture of alien tech he had traded for and human ingenuity. He worked for hours, sometimes stopping to sketch diagrams or take notes. Even in the quiet of deep space, the sound of metal clanging and tools scraping against surfaces seemed to echo, like the heartbeat of a ship waking from a long slumber. It wasn't easy. Some of the ship systems resisted his efforts. Wires frayed and snapped, panels refused to align, and the AI interface remained stubbornly offline. But Jax was patient. He understood machines in a way few others did. He could think like the engineers who had built this ship centuries ago, anticipate what they intended, and find solutions they hadn't considered. Slowly, piece by piece, the the ship began to respond. During one quiet moment, Jax paused in the captain's quarters. The room was small, with a worn control console and a large view screen that had long since gone dark. He ran his fingers over the buttons, imagining the crew who had sat here, making life-and-death decisions. He wondered what had caused the mission to fail, why the ship had been left behind, and if any humans would ever return to find it again. As he worked, he found a compartment sealed off from the rest of the ship. Inside was a small AI core, dusty and inert. It had been damaged, but the main processor seemed intact. Jax carefully connected his tools, bypassing broken circuits and manually rebooting the system. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft hum filled the room, and the lights flickered on in a slow, uneven rhythm. The AI was awake, or at least partially awake. "Welcome, user," the voice said, mechanical and hesitant. Jax smiled. "You're coming back to life, old friend," he said, "and we're going to make you better than you ever were." The rest of the day passed in a blur of activity. Jax repaired communication systems, rerouted energy from damaged panels, and ran diagnostics. The ship groaned and shuddered as it adjusted to the human mechanics work. Small systems came online. Life support hummed faintly, sensors blinked in recognition, and power flowed through circuits that had been dead for centuries. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. Outside, the scavengers watched from a safe distance, disbelief written on their alien faces. "How can a human do this?" one whispered. "No alien could have fixed it. Only a human mind would dare." Jax didn't answer. He was too focused on the next task, the weapons bays. Though he had no intention of using them immediately, he knew that to fully restore the ship, every system had to function. The bays were rusted shut, the targeting arrays corrupted, and the energy cells long depleted. He worked with precision, improvising replacements from alien technology and his own human designs. The ship's AI helped where it could, slowly learning from Jax's methods and adapting. By the time the artificial sun of a nearby star dipped behind a distant asteroid, Jax stood in the main hangar, exhausted but exhilarated. The ship was no longer a floating tomb. Its engines were stable, the systems were humming, and the AI was responsive. He could feel its latent power waiting to be unleashed. "This is just the beginning," Jax said softly. "We've got a lot of work to do, old friend." And as he looked out at the endless darkness of space, he knew that the galaxy had not seen a human like him before, someone willing to take a forsaken starship and turn it into something extraordinary, something alive, something unstoppable. For the first time in centuries, the derelict ship seemed to breathe. Jax Calder had spent days inside the starship, working tirelessly, and yet he felt like he had only scratched the surface. The ship had woken from its long sleep, but it was still fragile, like a giant wounded animal learning to stand again. Panels glimmered faintly as power flowed through their circuits, engines thrummed with uneven pulses, and the AI core, though functional, was still cautious, like a wary companion testing a new friend. "Let's see how far we can go," Jax muttered to himself as he examined the main engineering console. His hands moved over switches and dials, rerouting energy through a complex series of conduits he had improvised himself. The alien tech he had salvaged earlier had been tricky to integrate, but humans had a gift for adapting what others considered useless. The AI watched silently, analyzing every move. It had seen countless species try to repair machines, but no one approached it the way Jax did. The first major challenge was the propulsion system. The engines were massive, far larger than any human-made craft, and centuries of neglect had left them brittle and corroded. Jax climbed inside the engine bay, the heat of nearby plasma conduits warming his back. Sparks flew as he soldered circuits and replaced broken energy rods. His hands moved with precision, guided by intuition rather than protocol. Hours passed, and he took only short breaks, sipping water from a small canister and eating dried protein bars. The ship seemed to sense his dedication. Small systems that had resisted activation before now flickered to life. He could hear the engines hum softly, responding to his touch. "Not bad," Jax whispered. "You've got some fight left in you." Meanwhile, the AI began to speak more confidently. "Human, your methods are unorthodox. Efficiency could be improved with standard calculations." Jax chuckled. "Yeah, but standard calculations don't always work with broken old machines. Sometimes you've got to think differently. You've got to improvise." It was true. Most species in the galaxy approached repairs methodically, relying on rigid programming or strict adherence to schematics. Humans, on the other hand, could think in unexpected ways, seeing possibilities others overlooked. Jax rerouted energy conduits through areas no designer had intended, combining alien tech with human ingenuity. Slowly, the engines responded with a steady, low roar, a sound that made Jax's heart race. The next step was the ship's defense systems. Weapons bays were corroded shut, targeting arrays were offline, and energy cells had long decayed. Most humans would have left them, fearing danger, but Jax knew that a fully restored Starship needed every system operational. He crawled into the weapons control room, tools in hand, and began his work. Panels that hadn't moved in centuries groaned as he forced them open. Corroded circuits sparked and hissed as he replaced broken conduits with pieces he had scavenged from nearby wrecks. The alien AI systems were complex, designed for species with multiple appendages and different neural structures. Yet Jax adapted, using human logic to translate the commands and rewiring the systems to respond to human controls. As he worked, the AI spoke again, this time with curiosity. "Human, your improvisation is illogical yet effective. Explain your process." Jax wiped sweat from his brow. "It's simple. You can follow rules all day, but sometimes rules break. You've got to find another way. You've got to understand the machine like it's alive, like it's part of you." The AI paused, processing. Acknowledged. Observation confirmed. Human approach yields successful results. By the third day, the ship was beginning to show real signs of life. The engines hummed with steady power, lights illuminated the hallways, and the targeting systems could track simulated objects. Jax felt a sense of pride, but he also knew the ship was far from complete. It needed testing, calibration, and a crew, or at least the AI needed to fully trust him. Then came the challenge he hadn't anticipated: the alien scavengers who had mocked him at the start. Word had spread that a human was attempting the impossible. Curious, wary, or perhaps jealous, a small group of aliens approached in their own craft, observing from a distance. They didn't try to board, but their presence was a silent warning. Jax ignored them. He had bigger concerns. The AI had started communicating more actively, offering suggestions, analyzing data, and learning from his methods. Jax realized that this machine, this ancient warship, could do more than he had imagined if they worked together. He tested the ship's agility, activating the thrusters and sending it through a series of maneuvers. It wasn't perfect. The ship was old and some systems lagged. But every time it responded, Jax felt a surge of excitement. The ship wasn't just alive. It was learning, adapting, becoming something new under human guidance. "Not bad for a human crew of one," he joked aloud. The AI didn't laugh, but the sensors pulsed, almost as if acknowledging the humor. By the fifth day, he had managed to integrate most of the ship's systems. Communications, navigation, propulsion, and weapons were online, though not yet at full capacity. It was enough to start testing the ship in space beyond the station. Jax suited up, double-checking his equipment, and prepared for the first trial. The derelict Starship, once a floating tomb, now responded to his commands. It glided forward smoothly, its massive hull catching starlight as if waking from a long sleep. Jax felt a thrill of pride. Every system he had touched, every modification he had made, had contributed to this moment. Then, without warning, the alien scouts approached more closely. They scanned the ship, sending signals that clearly identified it as a human-controlled war machine. Their ships were faster, more agile, and far more advanced in some areas. But Jax had something no alien had anticipated: the combination of human creativity and the AI's raw power. He activated a series of decoy systems he had designed just in case. False energy signatures, mirrored communications, and rapid thruster maneuvers confused the alien sensors. They tried to predict his movements, but humans didn't follow patterns. They adapted. Jax maneuvered the ship through a field of debris, weaving between asteroids in a way that would have been impossible for most species to calculate. The AI spoke, almost excitedly. "Human, these actions are unpredictable. Probability of evasion exceeds prior estimates." Jax grinned. "That's why humans survive. We don't just calculate the odds, we do what's impossible." Hours passed as he tested the ship against these minor threats, pushing systems to their limits, improvising repairs on the fly, and discovering new ways to exploit the ship's design. Each success reinforced a simple truth: humans were adaptable, innovative, and daring, qualities that no amount of alien technology could replicate. By the end of the day, the alien scouts withdrew, puzzled and wary. Jack stood in the main control room, exhausted but triumphant. The ship's AI spoke, its voice smoother now, filled with what seemed like respect. "Human, your methods have exceeded expectations. Full operational capability is achievable under your guidance. You are a rare entity." Jack smiled. "I guess old machines just need the right mind to wake them up." As the starship floated in the silent void, its systems humming steadily, Jax felt a surge of hope. This was no longer just a repair job. The ship had potential beyond anything he had imagined. Together, human and machine could become something extraordinary, a force that might one day surprise the galaxy itself. And somewhere deep inside, Jax knew the first true test was coming. The galaxy would notice soon enough that a human had revived a starship that no one else could touch, and when it did, everything would change. But for now, in this quiet corner of the universe, Jax and the ship rested together, learning from each other, building a bond that went beyond circuits and metal. The AI was alive, the ship was alive, and the human, well, he had proven once again that ingenuity and courage could achieve the impossible. The forsaken starship, once left to rot, had a future. And that future belonged to humans. The human starship glided silently through the dark expanse of the Orion expanse. Its engines thrummed steadily, a deep, powerful rhythm that spoke of strength and precision. Jax Calder sat in the main control room, his hands lightly resting on the console, eyes scanning the vast void ahead. The ship had responded well to his modifications, and the AI now operated almost as an equal partner, learning from his every move. But peace never lasted long in the uncharted sectors. The sensors blinked, signaling the arrival of an unknown fleet. Small, agile alien ships, faster than anything human-built, were approaching. They had detected the starship, and their intent was clear: investigate, neutralize, and claim the mysterious vessel. Jax took a deep breath, gripping the console. "Looks like our first real test," he said quietly. The AI responded almost immediately, its voice calm but precise. "Human threat detected. Probability of survival with standard tactics, 12%. Jax smiled wryly. "Standard tactics don't apply here. Let's show them what humans can do." The alien fleet opened fire first, sending energy pulses that streaked across space. Jax had anticipated this. He activated the ship's newly restored defense systems: decoys, mirrored energy signatures, and rapid thruster bursts. The pulses narrowly missed, striking only empty space where the aliens thought the ship was. The starship darted through a nearby asteroid field, weaving expertly between massive rocks that could crush it with a single mistake. The aliens attempted to follow, but their AI relied on predictable patterns. They couldn't anticipate Jax's improvisation. Every movement was unpredictable, every maneuver unconventional. Human unconventional maneuvers reduce enemy tracking efficiency by 87%, the AI reported. Jax grinned. That's the idea. The first encounter lasted hours, a tense dance between human ingenuity and alien technology. Jax used the ship's massive thrusters to perform sudden bursts of speed, darting from one side of the asteroid field to the other. He activated short-range energy pulses to disable enemy sensors temporarily, giving him openings to escape or reposition. Despite their superior numbers, the aliens began to show hesitation. Jax noticed it immediately. Their formations broke, their attacks became fragmented. The AI observed the change, and for the first time its tone carried something akin to admiration. Human, your creativity in combat surpasses algorithmic predictions. Adaptation level extraordinary, Jax laughed softly. Thanks. Humans aren't just about strength. We survive because we think differently. As the engagement continued, Jax found opportunities to strike without fully revealing the ship's power. He activated modified weapon systems, energy pulses that could disable small ships temporarily without destroying them. The aliens faltered, unsure whether to retreat or advance. Jax exploited this hesitation, performing rapid maneuvers to confuse and separate the fleet. Hours turned into night, though in the cold emptiness of space, time was irrelevant. Jax felt a rhythm forming between himself and the ship, a partnership of human intuition and machine precision. The Starship responded instantly to his commands, but it also suggested moves, calculated angles, and predicted enemy actions. Together, they became something neither could achieve alone. Then, one of the alien ships attempted a risky maneuver, trying to flank the human vessel. Jax anticipated it, sending a sudden surge of energy through the ship's thrusters, executing a move that would have been impossible for a pilot following standard protocols. The alien vessel misjudged, colliding with an asteroid and spinning out of control. Human probability of success unprecedented, the AI said. Its voice had a tone of respect now, acknowledging what humans could achieve in situations others would fail. Jax allowed himself a small smile. That's just the start. We're getting warmed up. But the aliens were not easily deterred. More ships arrived, faster, stronger, and more numerous than before. Jax knew that relying purely on evasive maneuvers would not be enough. He needed to use strategy, cunning, and the very unpredictability that made humans so dangerous. He initiated a series of feints, pretending to retreat while secretly setting traps within the asteroid field. Energy nets, magnetic pulses, and misdirected sensor signals created confusion. The alien fleet, expecting a straightforward engagement, found themselves trapped in a deadly labyrinth of human-designed tactics. Human tactics illogical yet effective, the AI noted. Enemy efficiency reduced by 65%, Jax nodded. We're just getting started. Let's teach them a little lesson about humans. He pushed the ship into the heart of the asteroid field, activating hidden thrusters to propel it through tight spaces. The aliens followed cautiously, unable to predict the humans' movements. At the perfect moment, Jax released energy pulses that temporarily disabled their propulsion systems. Ships spun helplessly, colliding with debris, unable to respond. One by one, the aliens retreated, their attacks faltering under the combined power of human creativity and the Starship's ancient systems. Jax didn't pursue. He didn't need to. The demonstration alone had sent a clear message. Humans were not to be underestimated. After the battle, the Starship floated silently again, engines humming steadily. Jax leaned back in his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. The AI spoke, its voice calm and almost reverent. Human assessment complete. Your tactics demonstrate qualities unique to your species. Adaptability, creativity, improvisation, these traits are unmatched. Jax allowed himself a laugh. Told you. Humans don't just survive, we thrive when others fail to understand what we're capable of. But as he surveyed the sensors, a new realization dawned on him. This was only the beginning. The galaxy had noticed a human who could awaken a forgotten war machine. Word would spread, and stronger, more organized forces would come to test them. They were no longer just repairing a ship, they were preparing for the full challenge of the universe. He looked around the control room, eyes scanning the massive interior of the ship. Every panel, every console, every thruster had been touched by human hands, and each now responded as if alive. It was a partnership unlike any other, a machine built for war, guided by a human who understood ingenuity, risk, and creativity in ways no alien could match. Jax's mind raced with possibilities. He could continue restoring the ship further, enhance its systems beyond their original design, and prepare for the inevitable larger conflicts. But he also knew that he had to remain vigilant. The first trial had been a success, but the galaxy was vast and there were threats he couldn't yet see. AI, he said, we've passed the first test, but the real challenge, that's still out there waiting for us. Understood, human, the AI replied. Probability of survival in future encounters cannot be determined. However, trust in your methods is confirmed. Jax smiled. That was all he needed. Human ingenuity, combined with the ship's raw power, had proven itself against superior forces. The galaxy might underestimate humans, but not anymore. Not while he was at the helm. As the starship drifted through the expanse, engines humming like a heartbeat, Jax prepared for what would come next. The first trial had shown him one thing: humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, fighters, and thinkers capable of feats no other species could match. The human starship, once forsaken, had now tasted combat, and it had survived. And in the quiet of deep space, Jax knew that this was only the beginning of a story that would change the way the galaxy looked at humanity forever. The human starship drifted through the silent darkness of space, engines humming steadily, a deep, powerful rhythm echoing through its massive hull. Jax Calder stood in the main control room, hands lightly resting on the console, eyes scanning the distant stars. The galaxy had begun to take notice. Word of a human controlling a long-forgotten warship had spread like fire. Jax knew the reports weren't idle rumors. An armada of alien fleets, larger and more advanced than anything he had faced before, was moving toward the Orion expanse. Their intent was clear: stop the human before it could become a threat. AI, Jax said, his voice calm but firm, we're going to face the largest fleet yet. I need full systems online, no surprises. Understood, human, the AI replied, its voice smooth and precise. Full operational readiness at 92%, probability of survival uncertain. However, human methods offer unconventional advantages. Jax nodded. That was all he needed. Uncertainty was normal. Humans thrived in it. As the alien fleet emerged from hyperspace, the scale of the challenge became clear. Hundreds of ships, sleek and deadly, formed a blockade stretching across the void. Their weapons glinted in distant starlight, and their coordinated formations displayed a level of discipline that few species could match. But Jax was no ordinary pilot. This was not just a machine, it was a human-made partnership, an extension of ingenuity, creativity, and courage. The first trial had proven their capabilities, but this was the ultimate test. Human fleet approaching at high velocity, the AI said. Recommendation: evasive maneuvers with diversionary tactics. Jax considered the options. A straight fight would be suicide. Retreat would make the fleet follow and gain intelligence about the ship's capabilities. He needed something different, something no alien could predict. Prepare for a feint, he said. We'll lure them in where we can control the fight. The starship shifted its trajectory, moving toward a dense asteroid belt. From a distance, it appeared to flee. The aliens, confident in their numbers and power, pursued aggressively. Their formations remained tight, expecting an easy victory. But Jax had planned this carefully. He activated hidden thrusters and energy conduits along the asteroid belt. The ship's massive hull slid between the asteroids with astonishing agility. Decoy signals mimicked the ship's energy signature, creating multiple false targets. The alien fleet fired indiscriminately, striking empty space while the human starship moved undetected. Human enemy response is slower than anticipated, the AI noted. Their calculations are disrupted by your unpredictability. Exactly, Jax said with a grin. They can't fight what they can't predict. The trap was set. As the fleet followed deeper into the asteroid field, Jax activated energy nets and magnetic pulses, disabling the propulsion of several smaller ships. Larger vessels struggled to navigate the dense terrain, colliding with asteroids or breaking formation. The human starship, guided by Jax's intuition and the AI's calculations, moved like a shadow, striking precisely when the opportunity arose. Hours passed in a tense, silent rhythm. Jax executed daring maneuvers that no alien pilot would dare attempt. The starship's weapons fired with precision, disabling key systems without destroying life, showcasing human strategy over brute force. Every move reinforced a lesson the galaxy would never forget. Humans could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast the most formidable foes. One alien admiral, commanding the largest cruiser, attempted a bold flanking maneuver to corner the human starship. Jax anticipated it before the move was fully executed. He triggered a sudden acceleration, using the ship's massive thrusters to swing around a massive asteroid. The alien cruiser misjudged the maneuver, colliding with the rock and sending fragments scattering. Human flanking maneuver successful. Probability of survival now increased by 37%, the AI reported. Jax laughed softly. We're just getting started. The battle intensified as more alien reinforcements arrived, larger and more heavily armed than before. Jax knew he couldn't fight them all head-on. He needed to combine strategy, improvisation, and the ship's ancient power. He activated a series of synchronized energy pulses, creating temporary fields that disrupted enemy shields and communications. Alien ships were forced to scatter, their coordinated assault breaking down under the pressure of unpredictability. The AI, fully integrated with the ship systems, spoke with a tone almost of admiration. Human, your strategy demonstrates a level of ingenuity unmatched in known species, survival probability increasing. Jax allowed himself a small smile. Ingenuity is what makes humans dangerous. We don't just adapt, we innovate when the odds are against us. As the alien fleet faltered, Jax realized the perfect moment had come. He activated the ship's propulsion in a daring gambit, slingshotting around a massive asteroid and firing a concentrated energy wave at the remaining command vessels. The pulse disabled their weapons and disrupted navigation systems. Ships spun helplessly, unable to recover in time. The remaining alien forces, realizing the futility of their attack, began a cautious retreat. Jax didn't pursue, he didn't need to. The demonstration alone had proven the human starship's capabilities and, more importantly, humanity's brilliance. Human fleet neutralized. Immediate threat eliminated, the AI reported. Your methods have reshaped enemy expectations. Humans are now recognized as formidable. Jax leaned back in his chair, exhausted but triumphant. The starship had survived the ultimate challenge. The first human to awaken a forsaken warship had proven that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could overcome overwhelming odds. He gazed out at the stars, imagining the countless worlds that would now look at humans differently. They would no longer underestimate the species that had once seemed fragile, small, and insignificant. Humans had risen not through sheer power but through creativity, intelligence, and determination. "This is what we're capable of," Jack said softly, almost to himself. "No ship is too broken, no challenge too great. Humans, we never give up." The AI's voice, smooth and respectful, responded, "Human, your actions have rewritten probability outcomes. You and this vessel are a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity." Jack smiled. It was more than just survival. It was a message to the galaxy. Humans could take what was broken, what others had abandoned, and turn it into something extraordinary. They could innovate where others saw only failure. They could thrive where others expected defeat. As the starship glided back into open space, engines humming steadily, Jack sent a message across the stars. Not a threat, not a declaration of war, but a statement of human potential. No starship is too old, no mind too small. Humanity will rise, adapt, and create what others deem impossible. Remember this, we are more than survivors, we are innovators. The derelict starship, once left to rot in the void, had become a living testament to human brilliance. And standing at the helm, Jax Calder knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. For the first time in centuries, the forsaken starship had a future, and that future belonged to humans.